登録して
Kaizoku.
This video is brought to you by Adakai TCG. Shop the latest in premium holographic textured custom One Piece cards. Designed for collectors, crafted to stand out. Use code Kaizoku for 15% off your next order. This video is sponsored by gumgum.gg. Discover Western OP10 lists and Eastern OP11 lists on gumgum.gg. Updated daily. Be the first to see decks for new leaders as they emerge. With over 1,000 deck lists per set, gumgum.gg has all the top strategies as soon as they drop. This video is sponsored by Card Market, Europe's largest online marketplace for trading card games. Alright, it's pre-release time again. It's that season for OP11. Here is the event page for the OP11 pre-release event or release event. Are they not calling it pre-release anymore, even though it's before the set releases? I don't know. But I took a look at the rules real quick. It's the same event. They're just calling it something different. So at the event, it's a chance to test out the new cards early, right? OP11 comes out officially on June 6th. You get to test these cards out May 30th to June 5th, depending on what date the event is at your store. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming you might have signed up for it already, or you're hoping to get in via waitlist. But yeah, if this is the first pre-release you're going to be going to, this video is going to be going over the event itself. We're going to be going over the rules, what to do, what to bring. We're going to be going over the set itself, what cards to look out for to make a better pre-release deck. Because pre-release tournaments are either in a constructed or sealed format. Most people prefer the sealed format. It's more fun because you're only using the new cards. So that's what this video is going to be going over. So it says here that anybody who purchases a booster box at your store during this event, you're supposed to get one additional release event pack. Historically, for me, at the stores I go to, I don't know if they're being like shady or whatever, but I never got this extra pack. But the official rule says you're supposed to get an extra pack per each box you buy there. So yeah, if you want the most value out of your boxes, do remind them to give you your rightfully purchased additional release event packs. And as we mentioned, it's constructed or sealed. So just for participating, you'll get this Mihawk card, right? It's a cross-skill type character. It's not used in Buggy. I don't think it will be used in Buggy once his new starter deck comes out for the new, what I'm considering the new meta for Buggy, because I think the new Buggy is going to be pretty meta, but this card itself, I don't think it's going to be used in the deck. And then you'll also get a Rainbow Luffy card. But the weird confusing thing is that this event, according to the rules for the event, I have it open here, you can use any leader actually, right? You can bring your own leader, including those from previous sets used in this event. So I guess this Luffy is an option in case you don't have a leader with you, so you'll have something to use at least. And do note this is the 5 life version. There's a 4 life version out there, but this one is 5 life. Oh, but it says this leader can only be used in designated events according to the rules. Is this considered a designated event? Well, according to the PDF of the rules that they have linked on the page, it doesn't say that this is a specific designated event for this leader. So you may actually not be able to use this leader, but in the end, it's all store rules, house rules. So maybe your store will force everyone to use this leader. Maybe they won't allow people to use this leader. But yeah, do just make sure with your store before the event starts. And then you also get a release event pack. This will contain 2 cards from the set that you can probably include in your sealed deck. Again, that also depends on the store itself. And then if you win the entire event, you do get a pre-release stamped winner card for the same Mihawk, just with the stamp on it. So the rules for the sealed format, you're going to make a 40 card deck. That's 10 less than the normal amount. According to these rules that I checked, you can bring any past leader or even any leader you pull from your packs, and that'll be the leader for your deck. Special rules in the sealed format is that the cards in your deck do not have to pertain to the leader's color, right? So if you're running like a red leader, you can run any color cards that you pull from your 6 packs. You'll get 6 packs to build your 40 card deck with. You have to bring your own 10 Dawn, and then there's no like color restriction as we mentioned, and there's no quantity restriction. If you happen to pull more than 4 of a single card, you can run all 4, even 5, even 6, no matter what number of that card you get, you can run those in your deck. And that's pretty much sealed. So we'll just go over the cards in the set itself. So we'll go over the new leaders because those are what people are most interested in, I think, right? Whether they're viable enough to be used in a sealed environment. Then we'll go over the historically good leaders in case none of these new ones appeal to you. So one by one, starting with red, we have red black Kobe. So Kobe in a sealed environment, I would say is a little risky because his effects all depend on specific types of cards, right? You need sword type characters to be able to get use of the pseudo rush. You need navy type characters to get access to the production that Kobe provides them. And you need mill effects to put cards in your discard to pay for that effect. So if you did happen to pull a lot of navy type cards, maybe it might be worth it, right? If you look at OP11 for navy, here's all the navy cards shown on screen. If you're looking to protect your Navy characters, they have to be 7k or less. That's stuff like this X-Drake, Helmet Bow, Bullguard is nice. You can run Jaguar D-Sol because yeah, no color restriction, but he's not too great. What else would you want to protect? There's Bins. Oh no, he's Neo Navy. He doesn't count actually. And that's about it. But all your blockers can be protected this way too, right? It gives you an extra layer of protection via that. But to be honest, I don't think there's enough good targets to get consistent use out of Kobe's leader ability, the saving part. So I would suggest not using Kobe. For Jinbei, he's also a little hard to use in sealed because you do need to have Fishmen or Merfolk type characters in your deck. So we'll take a look at what we have available. So yeah, even less than the Navy, right? You only have these. A lot of these, when they die, they play out another character. So I don't know if you would even want to untap them, right? Aladdin, if you untap him, he'll never die, so he'll never get you that extra value. Same with Fisher Tiger. But yeah, he's great to combo with freaking Jinbei, the character, right? Because you could always swing and then protect his 8k ass body. I don't know why I was so vulgar with him. Sorry, Jinbei. But yeah, it's kind of a low impact leader ability, right? It's good in the early to mid game because a lot of your characters can be killed by your opponent's leader. So if you can protect them that way, it provides you extra like 5k pings every turn with your small characters. But once you start playing like your 8ks and stuff, it doesn't really matter if they're tapped or untapped, right? If they're tapped, your opponent has to spend at least 3 on leader to even make you burn 1k counter to save your Jinbei. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't think Jinbei is the play either, because you're forced to have to run all these Merfolk type characters, and a lot of them aren't too great on their own. Shirahoshi as well, despite being a 5 life dual color leader, she can't attack. That's always been like a really big detriment in a sealed environment, because you need the full constructed range of like deck building to make this kind of deck kind of work, right? Because the leaders that can't attack, there's a trade-off for that. They get really strong leader effects, but again, that depends on the cards in your deck, since you can't depend on your leader. And for Shirahoshi in particular, you need Seeking and Megalo type characters. And I just don't think there are enough good ones in sealed to guarantee enough to make a proper deck with Shirahoshi. Up next, we have Blue Purple Luffy. So despite Blue Purple Luffy being like considerably the best deck in the format in OP11, right? He's a complete menace, due in fact to him being a 6k base leader with 3 life. That 3 life is a big detriment in sealed. You have less counter to go around, you have less ways to guarantee ramp, so you only really get value once you're at 8 Dawn going to your 10 Dawn turn, because you get to draw an extra card for the turn. But even at that, you can only draw Straw Hat Crew type cards, which is limited in the sealed format. So yeah, you just don't get the value out of him. A lot of these strong targets that you want to play with this Luffy are like locked into previous sets, right? The 06 Sanji and then the 08 Linlin are not available for you. You have access to 8 cost Katakuri only, but 8 cost Katakuri is a really great card. But still, I wouldn't depend on having too many copies of him, right? Just out of curiosity, how many Straw Hat Crew type cards are there in this set? So you have 2k counters, you have Robin, because you can play off color. Nothing really worth it, I don't think, right? I guess Snake Man Luffy and then like Gear Second would be like the 2 best things, and then the Namis too. But yeah, I don't think it's worth it, in my opinion, because again, 3 life means you die really quickly. Now Nami is a different story. I think Nami might actually be potentially viable, right? So what she does is once per turn on your turn, if any life card leaves a life area and you have 7 or less cards in your hand, you can draw a card. So this counts when you're attacking your opponent and they take life, or if you yourself make yourself take life somehow, you get to draw a card. And then on top of that, that's not the only effect she has. Dawn times 1 on your opponent's attack once per turn. If you trash a card from your hand, Nami becomes a 7k base that turns a lot of your dead cards into 2k counter for the whole turn. With the amount of counter being so scarce in a sealed environment, just being able to make your leader a 7k base is actually really defensive, right? Your opponent can't do like super strong combos and get a bunch of bodies out like they could in constructed, so it's a lot more worth it in sealed. So historically, a lot of the good leaders in sealed has been like either an aggressive leader like Sanji or a defensive leader like Bonnie. I think Nami skews more to the Bonnie side of things, just being able to protect herself from your opponent's attacks. So yeah, I would, if you're feeling ballsy enough and adventurous enough, I would recommend trying Nami out. Nami wouldn't hurt, I think. Right, out of the leaders we saw so far, she's the most viable. And lastly, we have Purple Katakuri, so 5 life purple leader. So when attacking or on opponent's attack once per turn, if you down -1, you can look at the top card of your opponent's deck, and then he gives himself plus 1k power. So this works on attack and when your opponent attacks you, right? So it's like a free 1k counter every turn if you have the Dawn to spare to down -1, and then when you're attacking, you're always a 6k attack. Again, if you have the Dawn to spare. This is an effect you don't want to use early on. Now, I would argue that Katakuri, besides Nami, would be like the next most viable, because there's actually a lot of Big Mom support in the set itself. In fact, like I think 80% of the Katakuri deck is in OP11, right? You have the Ananas, you have the ACOS Katakuri, you have the Pudding Searcher, the Perospero, you have the Rush Linlin too. This is a card you get access to only in this Katakuri deck, right? At 10 cost 12k Rush Attacker that can make your leader a 7k base as well. You even have your 2ks in here as well, right? So if your packs align and you happen to pull all these great Big Mom Pirates types cards, I think Katakuri would actually make sense. And the game plan with it, I didn't release my deck breakdown for this yet. Maybe I will by the time this video is out. But yeah, Katakuri is actually a really strong deck. And since like 80% of his constructed deck is in the set already, I would argue that like you're only really missing the Pudding from OP08, I believe, the one that gives you a Rested Dawn back. And then like Mr. 2, but they aren't imperative for the deck. You're not like a ramp deck. You're just running cards to mitigate you using your leader ability early. So yeah, if you pull a bunch of ACOS Katakuris and a bunch of these Rush Linlins, who's just a rare, I would definitely consider Katakuri. Because once you get to 10 done, you have that free 6k on your turn and then the free 1k counter on your opponent's turn. It really does add up. And being a 5 life leader is great in sealed over like Nami being a 4 life leader. So those are the new leaders. Let's take a look at the past leaders that were great. So Sanjay has been like the top sealed leader for the past few sets now. It's either Sanjay or Bonnie. So what Sanjay does is he gives any character without an on-play effect and a cost of 8 or less rush. So just being able to swing right away with your characters the turn that you play it, it's just too much pressure for your opponent to have to deal with, especially with how little counter there is in a sealed environment. And then with Bonnie, Bonnie is more defensive than Sanjay. For 1 Dawn, when your opponent attacks, if you have a Dawn to spare to tap it, you can just rest one of your opponent's characters or leaders. So whatever they haven't attacked with, you just denying them 1 attack a turn. It really slows down your opponent to the point where like you can steadily gain advantage and then overwhelm them in the late game. So I would say that if you have a bunch of higher costed characters, Bonnie would be your better leader to utilize the deck. And if you have a bunch more like mid-range kind of characters, Sanjay would be your pick. And then yeah, try Nami or Katakuri at your own peril. I think Katakuri depends on your packs, and then Nami just in general might be pretty good actually. Now we'll take a look at the cards themselves besides the leaders. So right off the bat, there's SP cards in this set. I don't have the art for the SP cards in my deck builder. I'm working on that. But these are cards that are from previous sets that have alternate art in this current set. If you happen to pull them, they might be useful in your deck. So Luffy Taro, probably not as useful because there's no purple Straw Hats in this set. So I would not run Luffy Taro unless you have nothing else better to run. Stussy, on the other hand, is actually really useful, right? For 9, and if you trash a character on your board, you can KO any character on your opponent's field. Regardless of cost, this kills just about anything on your opponent's board. There's no like evasion other than if your opponent is like a red-black Kobe that can stop this Stussy in the set. Shiroshi is a nice chump blocker to play early on, right? For a 2-down investment early on. If they ever do KO the Shiroshi, you heal a life, so it's like you can take that hit anyway and you get a card in hand. Silver's Rally is also a really nice blocker because it draws you a card if your opponent has 2 or more 5k bodies on board. 9-cost Shanks, likewise with the Stussy, it's just a 9-dawn way to just outright kill something that's rested, no matter what cost. And then 9-cost Sanji, depending on your deck, if your deck has a lot of events, you do run the risk of like whiffing with the Sanji, but if your deck is more character heavy, yeah, this Sanji will provide you a lot of value because he just cheats out any card from the top of your deck for free. If it's a non-Sanji type card, so you have to be careful. There's actually 1 Sanji character, so yeah, you don't want this on the top of your deck when you're playing this Sanji. But other than that, everything else in the deck is fair game, right? You can even combo this Sanji into like a Stussy if you happen to get like the nuts 6 packs in the world and get 2 SP cards. Can you get 2 SP cards from the same box? But I guess some stores mix the boxes together, right? And then Lucky Roo is just a generic blocker because you're probably not going to be running Shanks, and he doesn't get the on KO effect unless you're running a Shanks leader. But if you happen to be running Shanks, he can take down a 6k power character with him, base power. So for the deck itself, you're going to want to run 2k counters. That's how you're going to protect your characters. It's a lot more combat focused in a sealed environment. Here is the list of every 2k counter in the set. There's actually quite a lot. They introduced this new archetype of like vanilla 2ks, right? Where they have almost a vanilla stat line. It's 1k off, but they're a 2k counter at the end of the day too. So those are a great addition. You have Usopp here, Frankie, Prince Gruz. You guys can go over it. In my deck builder, you can filter it yourself if you'd like. But I do believe every color has at least 2 vanilla 2ks. Yep, purple has them here, and black has Bogard and Sarahebi. Yellow has Chiffon and Mamboshi. So you run these, right? It's no big deal to run a vanilla 2k. It's even better now than it was before, because usually 2ks were kind of either utility cards or just useless cards to play out. And then besides 2k counters, you're going to want blockers. So here are all the blockers for the set. Some of them are conditional blockers, like this Anana. It only has blocker if you have another Big Mom Pirates type character out. Or like this Pedro, where he only has blocker if you have 4 or less cards in your hand. So do check if the blocker conditions meet your deck's playstyle. But there's also generic blockers like Smoker. He just always has blocker. Doll is like one of the most amazing blockers you can play, because not only can she stop an attack, but she can debuff something for minus 6k. But only in a Kobe deck, so again, that's that trade-off. But yeah, I would say the best blockers would probably be like this Nami, because you get to draw 3 cards and then place 2 back. So you filter your hand and you're up 1 card. But do note you have to be a multicolored leader to get access to that effect. And of course, this 8-cost Katakuri is like the best card in the set, in the game, right? He not only is a blocker, but when he attacks at the end of the turn, he can untap himself and give you a Rested Dawn. So you can always swing 8k and then be able to block 8k afterwards. To be honest, the sealed environment, the sealed metagame might just come down to who has the most 8-cost Katakuris in the end. Or if one deck has it and the other deck doesn't, then yeah, that's pretty much fate has been sealed from that point on, unfortunately. So other than those cards, here are the rest of the cards in the set that I think are notable. So Peacock, I think, would be pretty nice if you're running a lot of Navy type cards, because she's a searcher. Usually searchers aren't too relevant in a sealed environment, but the nice thing is that there's these new cycler searchers that have an extra effect after searching. So Peacock on activate main, you can trash Peacock on board and give a character plus 1k power. So you can just like kind of invest 1 Dawn to become 1k power later on, if you think about it that way. Because of that, it's essentially like a free a free card, right? It lets you bank a Dawn for a future turn. So even if you don't run too many Navy, I think it's still worth it to play this out on like your first turn or something. I think Zephyr would be interesting too. So when he attacks with the Dawn attached, you can give minus 5,000 power to a special attribute type character. And then if we look at the special type characters in the set, there's quite a few actually, right? It's not an insignificant amount. That Zephyr can give minus 5,000 power to a lot of these, right? Perospero becomes a 2k, Nami becomes a 1k. So I would argue that it's not too out of the realm of possibility to get value out of Zephyr here. And then if you're running Kobe, Doll is a for sure play. And then there's the vanillas, so these aren't 2k counters, they're just really efficient stat line cards. So Bins is one. Hibari might be nice, right? On play she gives minus 2k to something, and then whatever she debuffs you can attack. Even for just that, it might be worth it to run her. Similarly, Robin, 2 Dawn attached, when attacking gives minus 2k to something. It helps you like debuff something to pretty much mark whatever you debuff for death, right? Because that's every attack thrown at that target afterwards that they have to counter extra with after getting debuffed. Zoro is also a nice option. It gives Rested Dawn to a leader or character, so it adds up in the end. Honesty Impact is like one of the best removal cards in the set because it KOs a 10k power in total. And the nice thing about it is the flexibility, right? If you don't have a 10k to kill, you can give minus 4k to something and then KO something else with 6k power. So if something is rested and something is active, you can KO the active 6k and then you can attack into whatever's rested that you gave minus 4k to. And on trigger, it pops to 6k too. That's a pretty high stat line actually. Excalibur would be nice too. It gives minus 2k power for 2 Dawn and then gives 1k power to a Navy type character. So if you're running a lot of Navy, this is a great kind of pseudo removal card because you do need characters to attack with. Moving on to green, I think Aladdin might be nice because when he dies, you get to play out a Fishman or Merfolk type character with a cost of 6 or less from your hand. You do have to trash a card though, but yeah, it just makes for a sticky board. Even if this guy dies, you still have a character that can attack the turn after. If you are running a lot of Fishman and Merfolk in your deck. And yeah, some of them are just like 2k counters that you would run anyway. Like Mamboshi here, right? This is a 6 cost 7k. If Aladdin dies, you can play Mamboshi out. And then there's Aishali. Aishali is interesting. She's really defensive. Because on your opponent's turn, when they attack you, if you rest Aishali and 1 Dawn, it makes your leader a 6k base. Or technically plus 1k more. So if you're already a 6k base, you become a 7k base. And then Aishali herself will probably eat an attack since she's going to be rested. So it's a lot of stalling power here. And yeah, here's a vanilla that you can run Uroko. Lord of the Coast might be interesting too. So on play, up to one of your opponent's rested characters will not become active during their next refresh phase. So if you're running a Bonnie leader, you can keep like their entire board rested in the mid game. Or even with Sanji, it's nice to maybe play this out to stall. He himself cannot get rushed though because he has an on play, but it's good at keeping one of your opponent's pesky characters from attacking back into you while you're throwing out rush bodies to attack at your opponent. Jinbei is also a nice choice here, 6 cost 8k power. So it only rests a 5 cost or less if you're running a Fishman or Merfolk type leader. And you're probably not running Jinbei or Shirahoshi, so you probably won't get access to that effect. But the second part of his effect is still great, I feel. So activate main once return. Up to one of your Fishman or Merfolk type characters can attack characters the same turn that they were played. You can pick Jinbei himself. You get a kind of pseudo rush 6 cost 8k swing at your opponent's character to trade. You're going to be doing a lot of trading, so you'll get a lot more use out of this Jinbei in a sealed environment. Then there's Fisher Tiger, who's similar to Aladdin, but it cheats out a 4 cost on death. But also on play, he rests a character, so it's a little more like utility than the Aladdin. And then there's Gum Gum Elephant Gatling. It's a nice multifaceted counter event in green. So for 1 Dawn, if you pay 1 more Dawn, so it's 2 Dawn in total, you can rest a 5-drop. Helps get rid of blockers when you're trying to go for game. But if you don't need it for that, it can be used defensively. You can counter up to 3k on your leader for 1 Dawn this way. Moving on to blue, we have Vinsmoke Judge, 6 cost 8k power, so he's at least a vanilla. Then activating once per turn, if you charge a card from your hand, all your Germa 66 type characters gain plus 1k power during this turn. If you're running the other Germa 66 cards in your deck anyway, it's like an Anthem effect, but I think in some cases it might even be worth it to use it on himself, because he can buff himself to 9k. There's also Carrot. It's just a nice thing to play early on because you can rearrange the top 3 cards of your deck. And then at any point after that, if your opponent attacks you, you can trash Carrot to give yourself 1k counter. Again, like the Peacock, you're just banking this early. And then rearranging the top 3 can help you find an answer for your opponent's board the next turn too. Then we have Sanji, 6 cost 7k power. When this character is KO'd by an opponent's effect, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck and then play a Straw Hat Crew type card with the cost of 5 or less. And that would require you having pooled a lot of the good Straw Hat Crew type cards in your packs. Again, as you mentioned earlier, I think like Nami is a good pick for this. That's kind of about it. Or this Luffy, right? These are probably like your 2 best bets that you can find. Or even Brook's a blocker. Or the vanilla 2k chopper is also a great option here. So any of these 4. But yeah, on top of that, he also has an on play. So you can just bounce a 5k power or less character to the opponent's hand. Right, this can just make your opponent have to replay a blocker or something. Then we have Charlotte Lola, who is a 5 cost 7k vanilla. And then Nami. So we went over Nami earlier. She's just a blocker that can let you draw 3, discard 2 if you're multicolored. Then Gum Gum King Cobra is a defensive event. It can let you counter for 4k for 1 Dawn, but only if you're at 4 or less cards in hand. In the late game, when you're countering for like the final steps of the game, you will be low in hand size, and that's when this 4k counter out of nowhere for 1 Dawn is really handy. And there's also Gum Gum Jet Culverin, so it's a 3 cost event on main. You can bottom deck a 4 cost or less card on board. Just helps get rid of like chump blockers. Then we have Saldeath, who is a vanilla in purple, and then 8 cost Katakuri, as you mentioned, one of the best cards in purple and in the game in general. If you're running a Katakuri leader, Perospero is great in mitigating your leader abilities minus Dawn effect. Because yeah, after you use your Katakuri leader ability, you'll know what's on top of your opponent's deck. Then you can just cycle a card out of your hand and get an active Dawn back. So it's like you lost no Dawn at all, and you get to keep this 5 cost 7k out. And as we mentioned before as well, if you're running Katakuri, Big Mom is a nice rush option for 10. And then Big Mom's second effect plus the Katakuri's leader ability means that you can counter up to 3k for 1 attack, and then your leader stays at 7k for the rest of the other attacks for the turn. And then Gear Second is another multifaceted counter event. So for 3 Dawn total, you can ramp 1 Dawn if your leader is blue, but that's probably not going to be you because that's only blue purple Luffy. But on counter, it still counters for 3k, it's defensive, right? At worst, it's a guard point, but only works on your leader. Moving on to black, I think the only good black card is actually this Kuzan besides the Secret Kobe. So what Kuzan does is on play, you trash top 3 cards of your deck. That's not too relevant unless you're Kobe. But when attacking, you can pick one of your other leaders or characters of the Navy type, and they can attack active characters. So if you're running a bunch of Navy cards, right, like Hibari and Bins, they can attack your opponent's active blockers or stuff just to mess up their like optimal blocking plays. Then Ryuboshi is just a vanilla, that's good. We have Gum Gum Red Hawk. This is a great yellow event, right? Similar to the other 2 that we saw, this one counters for 3k for 1 Dawn, but on top of that, if you pay 3 more Dawn on top of the 1, so for 4, you can pop a 5 drop or less, but only kind of in the late game when both of your life totals equal up to 5 or less. So it's not something you can do early on. Up next, we have these secret rares of the set. Both of them are great, I feel. So I think this Luffy is the better of the 2. 8 cost 8k power, he has rush, and then when attacking, if you trash a card from your hand, you can bounce a 4 drop back to its owner's hand and then give a rested Dawn to one of your leaders or characters. So that's a lot of different effects, a lot of good stats there, right? Best case scenario, he's at 9k and you bounce one of your opponent's blockers to help you go for game. Worst case scenario, he's still an 8 cost rush attacker. Then we have Kobe. So Kobe's 8 cost 9k power. They're both 8 cost. On play, up to one of your characters can attack one of your opponent's active characters this turn. You can pick himself. So this Kobe can attack. You do need the red-black Kobe leader for him to be able to attack the turn that you play him though. Right, this Kobe just allows it to attack an active character. You do need that Kobe leader ability to make it have pseudo rush. But when you do attack, if you return 2 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order, you can give your leader up to one of your characters plus 1k power till the end of your opponent's next turn. So that makes your leader a 6k base if there were originally a 5k base. So it's really defensive in that regard. So those are all the notable cards that caught my eye. Let me know what you guys think. So yeah, the sealed deck that you're going to build, the 40 cards, it's more about what not to include. So there's a little bit of luck involved. So hopefully the luck is in your favor. That's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you guys thought. If I missed any cool interactions or any cool cards that you guys thought would be good, but I didn't go over it, let me know in the comments below. Would love to see some discussion there. And yeah, good luck at your pre-releases. If you win the pre-release winner card, do let us know in the Discord. Share your achievements with us. We're all happy for each other there. But yeah, until next time, if you're not subscribed, I would appreciate it if you did. And I guess that's it for this video, so bye.
Card Kaizoku.